Shabbat shalom, everybody. Rob Shmuel here with you, and hope you're doing well. This week we're going to look at Parsha what is it? Vaetchanan. Okay. There's another one, Vaetchanan. There's another Parsha that sounds just like it. I tend to get them a little confused. So, how you all doing? Is it hot enough for you? Have anybody remember that little greeting? We're going through a little bit of a heat wave, and people are really, I'm sure, struggling to stay cool. And it's important that you hydrate, stay cool as much as you can, watch your outside activities. Um, don't you wish we had perfect weather? I mean, it doesn't happen, but it'd be nice if it did. Sometimes, even when you do have perfect weather, sometimes it's not so perfect. But it's one of those challenges that we have. We just have to kind of make the most of it and deal with it. It's part of the challenges that are part of our lives. A lot of people look at events that go on in their life, and I've addressed this. I've addressed this from a spiritual point of view and a psychological point of view. Why so many problems? Are there so many problems, or maybe just some of us seem to have more problems than other people? And I know I've discussed this before. You know, if you don't deal with your challenges, they tend to add up and they get more and more, and you get weaker and weaker under the burden of all these different things that you handle. If you handle one thing, Forrest Gump, right? One less thing, and you're ready for the next one. If you handle it well, you've learned something, you can handle it better. So that's really what life's all about. It's about growth. And if we look in the Torah, and here it comes, we're going to see the continuity, the flow of the Torah and how that kind of plays out, or in some cases, doesn't play out. People look at Judaism and ask, what makes our religion different from other religions? And we are different. If you look at other religions, they look at people that are sort of godlike or above the fray, seem to have some type of manner or mannerisms, or they're just more divine and they're able to handle it, and they're kind of our role models. Judaism doesn't do that. Judaism shows you flawed people. Now you say, okay, well, who are you? What about that? Well, look at Adam and Eve. God said, don't touch the fruit of the tree of knowledge. And what did they do? They ate it anyway. The first generation of humankind, there's murder. Noah is the sole survivor because people had become wicked. And you're sitting there thinking, well, if we are made in God's image, why aren't we perfect? Well, is that the image that we're made in? Think of it that way. Then we go to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Abraham, who pretended Sarah was his sister. Isaac, same thing. Jacob favored one son over the other 11, and that created a really big problem. Even Joseph ends up in Egypt. Was he a flawed character? Well, he went to jail for 12 years, so maybe, not the greatest of all. Moses and Aaron, and that brings us to today. Moses and Aaron. Moses is up there on the mountain. The people are getting all crazy. They want to know where Moses is. They miscalculated how long he'd be up on Mount Sinai talking with God. They start creating a riot. People are killed. Yeah, they were killed. And Aaron does what he thinks is the best way to appease them, which is make the golden calf. Now, when you look at the riots that go on in New York, a lot of them have to do with us. It is what it is. Okay. Is there a way to appease that? They call out the police, and that creates more problems. And that's not a slight against the police. Hey, I'm a real big fan of our boys in blue. I really am. They got a tough job. They got to keep order. Nobody wants to keep order. How many people have been stopped for traffic and gave the cop a hard time? Yeah, I've done it. I'm sure we've all done it because we don't want a ticket, right? We want to get away with stuff. It's human nature. But it's a tough job. And it's hard to appease people once you get this mob frenzy going. And mob frenzies aren't just, a group of people. Sometimes it pervades cultures. And I'm going to do my best to resist talking about how this Jew hating has pervaded into our society. It's become normalized. So there it is. So here we have Moses and Aaron, who are flawed characters. Miriam dies, Aaron dies, Moses is left on his own. He had hit the rock. He had complained to God every time the people went off asking for water, asking for food, asking for meat, asking for shelter, complaining about who's going out at them after them. Finally, God says, you know what? I've had it. You people are absolutely, obviously not capable of conquering and settling the land. You're done. So now Moses is talking to the second generation. And in Vaetchanan, Moses is lamenting how, well, I wanted to really get to the promised land. I spent 40 years out here with your parents, and yeah, I made a couple of mistakes along the way. Maybe God would forgive me and see fit and let me go see the promised land that I've kind of nurtured everybody to go in, but alas, that was not the case. So he's saying that as kind of a lesson to these people. And think of the humility. This is why the humbleness, I shouldn't say humility, that's maybe the wrong word. Think of the humble character of Moses to denigrate himself so that other people learn that lesson. I mean, that's beautiful. That really shows, the ultimate mensch, if I can. But then what follows in the Vaetchanan? We have the repeat of the Ten Commandments, the Shema, and the first paragraph, the V'ahavta, right there in one parsha. Interesting that we've decided we're going to try doing the full parsha for the first part of Deuteronomy, Devarim, for the first parsha there. Maybe we should be doing this one as well, the full parsha, because the triennial cycle stops with the Ten Commandments, and you don't get to read the Shema and the V'ahavta. So maybe we'll go ahead and do it. Now, some of you are saying, well, so what? We say it twice a day anyway. Yeah, okay, good point taken. But see, here we are repeating these important commandments. And why is these special? I mean, they're commandments. The 10 commandments are the 10 that got it started, that got the 613 started. And the Shema and the V'ahavta is considered to be the crux, the central point of our heritage, of our culture, of our spiritual existence. You should love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. Why? Because then you will observe his commandments. That's the reason. You will observe his commandments. And these commandments follow after Moses admits to being a flawed character. So where's the connection there? The connection, think of it this way, and this is, as always, my interpretation, is to say, here's your guidelines. Here's your limits. Here is the necessary ideas to keep you, or to as much as possible, from making mistakes, from doing the wrong thing, from following your eyes or following your heart. That'll always get you into trouble. Just follow the commandments. God says, talk to the rock. Don't go off and beat it. God said, talk to it. Okay, how hard is that? Well, Moses was in a frenzy. He was frustrated, I'm sure. 40 years of dealing with these people, and now they're grumbling and they're complaining, and it's like, here we go again. What are we going to do about it? So Moses is like, come, you rebels, and now we will get water. And God's like, you blew it. All you had to do was talk to the rock. Instead, you let your temper get to you. Rabbis have talked about anger. Off, I believe, is the word. And they talk about how anger is kind of will remove you from humanity. It will stop you from being a humane person. It will interfere with your spirituality. It will get you to do rash things. Okay. In a way, it's a drug, a very dangerous drug. Anger is. You get the adrenaline going. You're not thinking straight. You want retribution. You want vindictiveness. You want revenge. Not that Moses wanted all of that, but he was just caught up in the moment. He was caught up in the moment of his own nervous system rebelling against him. And that's what kind of did him in. So maybe what God was doing by not showing him mercy and letting him go into the land is making a point. See, and it was the ultimate point. Look, folks, even a person, a prophet like Moses, the ultimate prophet, the prototype of a prophet. If he could do this, then don't think that you can't. Don't think that you are above it, because you're not. This is why I'm giving you the commandments. So you have a base. So you have a guideline. You have limits. You have something to prevent you from going off. This is why we study Torah. This is why we do this every week, to remind ourselves. This is why at Simchat Torah, at the end of the year, beginning of the year, we roll it and we do it over and over again. Okay. Study Torah and keep cool. And God bless.